There is a specific kind of silence that happens in a hospital waiting room. It's not peaceful. It's heavy. It presses against your eardrums and makes it hard to breathe. It's the silence of people waiting to hear if their world is about to end. I was sitting in that silence, staring at the scuffed linoleum floor of St. Jude's emergency room. My clothes were still damp. It was raining outside, a torrential downpour that turned the roads into oil-slicked mirrors. That rain was the reason I was here. That rain was the reason my 7-year-old daughter, Lily, was currently behind double swinging doors, surrounded by a team of surgeons trying to stitch her small, fragile body back together. "Mrs. Evans," I shot up from the plastic chair. A doctor in blue scrubs was standing there. He looked young, too young to be holding my daughter's life in his hands. He looked exhausted. "Is she—" I couldn't even finish the sentence. "She's alive," the doctor said quickly, "but she's lost a lot of blood. Her spleen was ruptured in the impact. We've managed to stop the internal bleeding, but her hemoglobin levels are critically low. She needs a transfusion immediately to stabilize her for the next surgery." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Okay, do it. Give her whatever she needs." The doctor hesitated. He looked down at his clipboard, then over my shoulder. "That's the problem, Mrs. Evans. Lily has a very rare blood type, AB negative. It's only found in about 1% of the population. We have checked our blood bank, and we are currently out. We have put out an emergency call to nearby hospitals, but with the storm, transport is delayed." My heart stopped. "Delayed? How long?" "Hours," the doctor said gravely. "And she doesn't have hours." I felt the room spin. "Test me," I said, rolling up my sleeve. "Take my blood." "We already checked your file from your admission paperwork," the doctor said gently. "You are O positive. You can't donate to an AB negative patient. It would cause a reaction that would kill her." Panic, cold and sharp, clawed at my throat. "So what are you saying? She's going to die because of traffic?" "No," the doctor said. He looked past me again. "We have one other option. Immediate family is the best bet for a match. The father." I turned around. My husband, David, was standing near the vending machine. He was still wearing his suit from work. He looked impeccable as always, not a hair out of place. He was scrolling on his phone, looking annoyed, as if this whole car accident thing was a scheduling conflict he needed to resolve. David was Lily's hero. She worshipped him. She waited by the door every evening for him to come home. "David!" I yelled. He looked up, startled. He walked over, putting his phone in his pocket. "What is it, Clara? Is she okay?" "She needs blood," I said, grabbing his lapels. "She needs it now. She's AB negative. You're AB negative, aren't you? I remember when you had your appendix out, the doctor mentioned it." David froze. A strange look passed over his face. It wasn't fear for his daughter. It wasn't determination. It was calculation. "Yes," David said slowly. "I'm AB negative." "Thank God," the doctor said, looking relieved. "Mr. Evans, come with me. We can do a direct transfusion. It's risky, but it's her best chance. We just need to run a quick screen and get you hooked up." The doctor turned to lead the way, but David didn't move. "No," David said. The word hung in the air like a gunshot. I stared at him. "What?" "I said no," David repeated. He smoothed his tie, avoiding my eyes. I can't donate." "What do you mean you can't?" I screamed, my voice echoing off the hospital walls. "She is dying, David. She is in that room dying, and you are a match. Why can't you?" David looked at the doctor, then at me. I have a phobia of needles. I faint. My heart condition. The stress could cause a cardiac event. You know I have high blood pressure, Clara." I looked at him like he was a stranger. "A phobia? David, you got Botox last month for your forehead. You let them stick needles in your face for vanity, but you won't stick a needle in your arm for your daughter. It's different," David snapped, stepping back. "I can't do it. Find another donor. Pay someone. I don't care what it costs. I'll write a check right now for $50,000. Just get the blood from somewhere else." The doctor stepped in, his voice stern. "Mr. Evans, money isn't the issue. Time is. Your daughter has maybe 40 minutes before her organs start to shut down. If you are a match, you are the only solution." David's face turned pale, but his jaw set in a stubborn line. I said no. I will not be bullied into a medical procedure I'm not comfortable with. It's my body, my choice. He turned and walked away. He walked back to the plastic chairs, sat down, and pulled out his phone again. I stood there, shaking. I looked at the doctor. The doctor looked horrified. I'll go call the Red Cross again, the doctor whispered, running toward the nurses' station. I was left alone in the hallway, looking at the man I had been married to for 10 years, the man I thought I knew. He was willing to let our daughter die, and I knew, deep in my gut, that it wasn't because of a phobia. David Evans wasn't afraid of needles. He was afraid of something else. Before I reveal the shocking medical secret that David was hiding, I have a small favor to ask. If you believe a parent should do anything to save their child, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us share these important stories with the world. Also, I love connecting with you, so tell me in the comments, which city or country are you watching from right now? I read every single one. Now let's go back to the moment my marriage began to crumble. To understand why David's refusal shattered my reality, you have to understand who David was, or who he pretended to be. David was a gold star husband. He was a partner at a prestigious law firm. He made 7 figures. He drove a Porsche. He was the kind of man who bought me diamonds for no reason and took us on vacations to the Maldives. But looking back, it was all surface. It was all a performance. David was obsessed with his image. He was obsessed with being clean. He wouldn't eat at street stalls because of germs. He showered 3 times a day. He judged people who were overweight, or poor, or messy. To David, perfection was the only acceptable standard. We met in college. He was the golden boy. I was the scholarship student. I thought I had won the lottery when he chose me. "You're pure, Clara," he told me once, early in our dating life. "You're not like the other girls. You're safe." I thought it was a compliment. Now it sounded like a warning. 10 years. We had been married 10 years. Lily was our miracle baby. We had tried for years to conceive. When she was born, David was happy but distant. He hired nannies. He bought her expensive toys. But he rarely got on the floor to play with her. "I don't want to get my suit wrinkled," he would say. I sat down across from him in the waiting room. The clock on the wall was ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Every second was a drop of blood leaving my daughter's body. "David," I said, my voice low and dangerous. He didn't look up from his phone. He was playing Candy Crush. He was matching colored jewels while his daughter bled out. "Look at me," I hissed. He sighed and looked up. "Clara, stop. I'm already stressed enough." "Stressed?" I laughed. A manic, broken sound. "You're stressed. You're sitting in a chair. Lily is fighting for her life. What is really going on? Tell me the truth. Why won't you give the blood?" "I told you," David said, his eyes shifting to the left. "Medical anxiety." "Liar," I said. "You gave blood 3 years ago at the company drive. You got a sticker. You posted it on LinkedIn to show how charitable you are. You didn't have anxiety then." David froze. He had forgotten. That was different," he stammered. "That wasn't under pressure." "What are you hiding?" I demanded. "Are you high? Are you on drugs? Is that it? You don't want the doctors to know you're popping pills?" "Don't be ridiculous," David scoffed. "I don't do drugs. I'm a lawyer." "Then what is it?" I grabbed his hand. It was cold, clammy. "David, please. If she dies, and you could have saved her, I will never forgive you. I will destroy you." David pulled his hand away. He looked at me with a mixture of fear and, was that shame? "Clara, you don't understand," he whispered. "It's complicated. Make it simple." I can't," he choked out. "I just can't." Suddenly, the double doors burst open. The young doctor ran out. "Mrs. Evans," he shouted. My heart stopped. This was it. She was gone. "The transport from Mercy General? It hydroplaned," the doctor said, breathless. "The courier car crashed. The blood packs were destroyed." I fell to my knees. "However," the doctor continued, "another donor just walked in. A police officer. He heard the call on the radio. He's O negative, which is a universal donor for red cells. It's not perfect, but it will work." I looked up. tears streaming down my face. "He's here. He's being prepped now," the doctor said. "It's going to be close, but we have a chance." I looked at David. He let out a huge sigh of relief. He slumped back in his chair. "See?" David said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It worked out. I told you money could fix it. Or luck." He looked relieved that his daughter might live, but he looked even more relieved that he didn't have to bleed. That was the moment my love for him died. It didn't fade away. It was extinguished. Instantly, like a candle in a hurricane. I stood up. I wiped the tears from my face. "Stay here," I told David. "Don't you dare move." I walked over to the doctor. "Doctor, can I speak to you for a second?" The doctor looked at David with disgust, then nodded to me. We stepped around the corner. "Is he okay?" I asked, pointing to the police officer who was being wheeled in. "He's a hero," the doctor said. "But your husband—" "I know," I cut him off. "Doctor, I need to know something. If David had donated, what tests would you have run on his blood?" "Standard screening," the doctor explained. "We test for blood type, obviously, but we also run a rapid panel for infectious diseases. HIV, hepatitis B and C, syphilis, West Nile. We can't transfuse blood that carries those pathogens. It would infect the recipient." I nodded slowly. The pieces were starting to click together. David wasn't afraid of needles. He was afraid of the screening. He was afraid of what they would find swimming in his veins. "And if he had tested positive for something," I asked, "would you have told me?" "HIPAA laws prevent me from sharing his medical results with you without his consent," the doctor said. "But we would have had to decline the donation, and we would have had to report certain infections to the CDC." I thanked him and walked back to the waiting room. David was back on his phone. He looked up as I approached. "Is the cop donating?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "He's saving her." "Good," David said, standing up and buttoning his jacket. "Look, Clara, I'm going to head home. I need to shower and change. I feel gross. Call me when she's out of surgery." He was leaving. His daughter was on an operating table, and he was going home to shower. "Go," I said. "Get out of my sight." He didn't need to be told twice. He walked out into the rain. I watched him go, and then I reached into my purse. I pulled out my phone and opened the Find My app. David shared his location with me. We had set it up years ago for safety. He probably thought I never checked it. I watched his dot move away from the hospital. It moved down the highway, but it didn't go toward our house in the suburbs. It went downtown, to an apartment complex called the Meridian. He stayed there for 45 minutes. Then his dot moved again, heading toward our house. He wasn't going home to shower. He was going to wash something away, or hide something. Lily survived the surgery. The police officer's blood stabilized her. By 4 a.m., she was in the ICU, sleeping. She looked tiny and pale, hooked up to a dozen machines, but she was alive. I sat by her bed, holding her hand. I was exhausted, but my mind was racing. Infectious diseases, HIV, hepatitis, syphilis. Why would David be terrified of a disease screen? He was a hypochondriac. If he was sick, he would be the first one at the doctor demanding a cure. Unless it was a disease he couldn't explain. A disease you only get from one kind of activity. I left Lily with my mother, who had arrived an hour earlier, and drove home. The house was quiet. David was asleep in the guest room. He had locked the door, something he never did. I went into the master bedroom. I went into the bathroom. It smelled of bleach. I looked at the trash can. It was empty. He had taken the trash out. At 6 a.m., I walked out to the garage. The big trash bin was full. I opened it. Sitting right on top was a small white plastic bag. I put on a pair of gardening gloves and opened the bag. Inside were empty bottles, not prescription bottles. These were over-the-counter supplements, but strange ones. Immune support, liver cleanse, and a box of slightly burned foil. No, not burned. It was a blister pack. I pulled it out. It was empty, but the label was still legible. Valacyclovir. I stared at the box. I knew that name. I had seen commercials. It was herpes medication. Genital herpes. My stomach turned over. David had herpes? Since when? We had been married 10 years. I had been tested before Lily was born. I was clean. If he had it, he got it recently. But herpes isn't life-threatening. You can still donate blood with herpes if you aren't having an outbreak. Why would he risk Lily's life over that? It was embarrassing, sure, and it proved he cheated. But was it worth killing his daughter over? No, there had to be more. I dug deeper into the trash. Beneath the supplement bottles, wrapped in a paper towel, was a receipt. It was from a private lab services clinic, dated 3 days ago. Patient, David Evans. Test ordered. Full STI panel, RNA viral load. He had gotten tested 3 days ago. He was waiting for results. Or he already had them. I ran back inside the house. I went to his home office. His laptop was closed on the desk. I opened it. Locked. Password protected. I tried his usual password. Porsche 911. Incorrect. I tried Lily 2016. Incorrect. I tried his birthday. Incorrect. He had changed it. I looked around the desk. David was old school in some ways. He liked paper. If he got results from a private lab, did he print them? I checked the drawers. Nothing. I checked the bookshelf. Nothing. Then I saw his briefcase, the leather satchel he took to work every day. It was sitting by the door, ready for the morning. I unbuckled it. Inside were legal briefs, a tablet, and a thick blue folder. I opened the blue folder. It wasn't legal work. It was medical records. But they weren't recent. They went back months. I flipped through them. January 12th. Patient complains of fatigue, night sweats. February 4th. Swollen lymph nodes. March 10th. Rapid weight loss masked by diet pills. And then, the final page. The result from the test he took 3 days ago. The one he threw the receipt away for. Result? Positive. But it wasn't herpes. And it wasn't HIV. I stared at the letters on the page. My hands started to shake so hard I dropped the folder. The papers scattered across the floor. Diagnosis: hepatitis C, chronic genotype 1, A, viral load, 2 million IU/ml, high, transmission vector, likely intravenous drug use or high-risk sexual contact, hepatitis C. It was curable now, but it was serious. It destroyed your liver. But the transmission vector, intravenous drug use. David didn't do drugs. He drank scotch. He didn't shoot up. High-risk sexual contact. I looked at the date of the first symptom. January. Where was David in January? I closed my eyes, thinking back. January. January was his firm's retreat. In Thailand. He had gone for business. He came back tanned and happy. I grabbed the folder and ran to the computer. I Googled hepatitis C Thailand transmission. The results made me sick. Dirty needles, unprotected sex with sex workers. But then I saw something else in the folder, a second sheet stapled to the back. It was a letter from a woman named Joy. It wasn't a love letter. It was a threat. David, I know you're back in the States. The doctor here says I have it. That means you have it. And since you didn't tell me about your wife, I'm guessing you didn't tell her about us either. Send me $50,000 by Friday, or I send the photos to Clara. I covered my mouth to stop a scream. He had cheated on me in Thailand. He had contracted a serious infectious disease. He was being blackmailed, and when his daughter, his own flesh and blood, needed him to save her life, he refused, not because he was scared of needles, but because if the hospital ran that blood screen, they would have found the Hep C. They would have reported it. I would have found out. He was willing to let Lily die to keep his secret, to save his reputation, to save his marriage. He valued his lie more than her life. I sat on the floor of the office, surrounded by the papers. The sun was coming up. I heard the guest room door open, footsteps coming down the hall. David stood in the doorway. He was wearing his silk robe. He looked sleepy. Clara? He yawned. What are you doing? Is Lily okay? Then he looked down. He saw the blue folder. He saw the papers scattered on the rug. He saw the letter from Joy. His face went from sleepy to terrified in a split second. Clara, he whispered. Don't read that. I stood up slowly. I held the letter in my hand. You let her bleed, I said. My voice was so quiet it scared me. You sat there playing Candy Crush while she bled, because you didn't want me to find out you slept with a prostitute in Bangkok. It was a mistake, David pleaded, stepping forward. Clara, I was drunk. It was one night. I didn't mean to bring anything back. I'm treating it. I'm taking the meds. You risked her life, I said, stepping closer to him. I knew the hospital would find a donor, David cried. I knew she would be okay, but if I donated, my life would be over. You would leave me. The firm would find out. I did it to protect our family, to protect yourself, I spat. Clara, please, he begged, falling to his knees. I can fix this. I'll pay Joy. I'll get cured. We can move past this. I love you. I love Lily. I looked down at him. The gold star husband. The perfect man. You don't love anyone but yourself, David, I said. I walked past him to the kitchen. I grabbed a Ziploc bag. I started putting the papers inside. The medical report. The blackmail letter. The receipt. What are you doing? David asked, scrambling up. I'm keeping this, I said. As insurance. Insurance for what? For the divorce, I said. And for the custody battle. You are never going to see Lily again. I am going to make sure the judge knows exactly why you refused to save her. David's face hardened. The fear vanished, replaced by the cold, calculating lawyer I had seen at the hospital. You can't prove why I refused, he sneered. I have a phobia. It's on record. And those papers? I'll say you forged them. I'll say you stole them. They're inadmissible. Maybe, I said, walking to the door. But I don't need a judge to convict you, David. What do you mean? I mean, I said, opening the front door, I'm going to the hospital, and I'm going to tell the police officer who saved Lily's life that her father refused because he was busy hiding a felony. Felony? David laughed nervously. Cheating isn't a felony, Clara. No, I smiled. But knowing you have a communicable disease and having unprotected sex with your wife without disclosing it. In this state, David, that is a felony assault. David's face went white. He hadn't thought about that. He hadn't thought about me. I haven't slept with you since Thailand, he stammered. Yes, you did, I lied. Last week, on my birthday. We hadn't. But he couldn't remember. He was drunk that night too. I'm going to the police, David, I said. Run. I slammed the door and got in my car. I wasn't going to the police yet. I was going back to the hospital to hug my daughter, but David didn't know that. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw him running to his Porsche. He was panicking. He was going to run. And that was exactly what I wanted, because while he was running, he was going to make a mistake. A big one. The police officer's blood had saved Lily's life in the operating room, but the war wasn't over. It was just shifting battlefields. While David was speeding down the interstate in his Porsche, running from a felony charge he thought I was filing, I was sitting in the ICU, watching the monitors beep. Lily was stable. Her color was returning. I should have felt relieved. But then, Dr. Evans, no relation to David, thankfully, walked in. He didn't look like a doctor who had just saved a life. He looked like a man carrying a heavy stone. Mrs. Evans, he said, pulling the chair close. We need to talk. While we were running Lily's blood panel before the transfusion, the lab flagged something. At first, we thought it was just the trauma from the accident. Elevated white blood cell count is normal after an injury. He paused, taking a breath. But the levels were too high. Way too high. We ran a flow cytometry test. What are you saying? I asked, my stomach dropping. Is it an infection? No, the doctor said softly. It's acute lymphoblastic leukemia. All. It's a type of blood cancer. The world stopped. The silence came back, heavier than before. Cancer? I whispered. She's 7. She was playing soccer yesterday. It's aggressive, the doctor said. But the accident might have been a blessing in disguise. We caught it early. However, because of the blood loss and the trauma, chemotherapy isn't an option right now. Her body is too weak. She needs a bone marrow transplant, and she needs it fast. Within the next 48 hours, or her immune system will collapse. He looked at me with intense eyes. You aren't a match, Clara. We checked your HLA markers. You're a 4 out of 10. We need at least an 8. Usually siblings are the best bet. Does Lily have siblings? No, I said. Then the father is our best hope, the doctor said. Parents are usually haploidentical, a half match, but sometimes they can be a near-perfect match. We need David. I felt a laugh bubble up in my throat, a dark, hysterical laugh. We needed David, the man who had fled the hospital to hide his hepatitis C, the man who was currently running from the police. The man who had chosen his reputation over his daughter's life once already. Now, I had to ask him to do it again. I'll get him, I said, standing up. I'll find him. I walked out of the ICU. I didn't call the police. I didn't call a lawyer. I called David. He didn't answer the first time, or the second. I sent a text. She has leukemia. She needs bone marrow. If you don't answer, I send the Thailand photos to the partners at your firm. 3 seconds later, my phone rang. You're lying, David hissed. You're making this up to get me to come back so the cops can arrest me. I wish I was lying, I said, my voice dead calm. The accident revealed it. She has blood cancer, David. She needs a transplant. You are the only chance she has. I can't, David screamed. He sounded unhinged. Clara, are you stupid? I have Hep C. If I give her my bone marrow, I give her the virus. I'll kill her anyway. Not necessarily, I said. I spoke to the doctor. There are antiviral protocols. They can scrub the marrow. It's risky, but it's better than cancer. But they need to know what they are dealing with. You have to come in. You have to confess. Confess? David laughed. And lose my license? Lose the firm? No, I'm halfway to the border, Clara. I'm sorry. Tell Lily. Tell her I love her. He hung up. I stared at the phone. He was going to let her die. Again. I felt a cold rage settle over me. It wasn't the hot anger of betrayal anymore. It was the icy, calculated resolve of a mother protecting her young. David thought he was running to the border, but he forgot one thing, his Porsche. David loved that car more than he loved us, and because he loved it, he had installed the premium security package. It included a remote kill switch that I could control from the shared family account on the iPad. I opened the app. I saw his dot moving west on the highway at 95 miles per hour. I didn't hesitate. I hit Stolen Vehicle Mode, Disable Engine. The app processed. Command sent. Engine will shut down gradually. I watched the dot slow down. 80, 60, 40, 0. He was stranded on the side of the highway 20 miles out of town. I got in my car. When I pulled up behind the Porsche 30 minutes later, David was kicking the tire, screaming into his phone. He looked wild. His tie was undone. His hair was a mess. He saw me and froze. You, he snarled. You shut it off. Get in the car, David, I said, opening the passenger door. No, I'm not going back. David, I said, stepping out. I held up the blue folder, the one with his medical records. I have copies of this. I have copies of the blackmail letter. And I have a scheduled email set to go out to the bar association, your boss, and your mother in exactly 1 hour. David paled. You wouldn't. I will cancel the email if you get in the car, I said. We go to the hospital. You tell the doctors you have a medical condition that requires screening. You let them test you. If you are a match, you donate. We deal with the Hep C privately. We tell the world you're a hero who saved his daughter despite a personal risk. David looked at me. He looked at the disabled Porsche. He looked at the empty highway. He saw a way out, a way to save his reputation. You promise? He asked. No police? No exposing the affair? Save her life, I said, and I'll keep your dirty secret. He got in the car. The drive back was silent. David stared out the window, twitching. He was terrified, not for Lily, but for himself. When we got to the hospital, Dr. Evans was waiting. Mr. Evans, the doctor said, relieved. Thank you for coming back. We need to do a rapid HLA typing, and we need to screen you for the transplant eligibility. David looked at me. I nodded. I need to tell you something first, David stammered. I might have been exposed to hepatitis C in the past. The doctor's eyes widened. Okay, that complicates things. We need to run a viral load test immediately. If the viral load is high, a transplant is extremely dangerous. But we have no choice. Let's get the blood. They took David back. I waited. 1 hour? 2 hours. Finally, Dr. Evans came out. He looked grim. Clara, he said. He's not a match. I felt my knees give out. What? David is a 3 out of 10 match, the doctor said. He's less of a match than you are. Biologically, it's unusual. Usually a father is at least a 50% match. So he can't save her? No, the doctor said. Even if he didn't have Hep C, which, by the way, is active and highly contagious right now, his marrow would be rejected instantly. Lily's body would attack it. I sat in the chair, defeated. I had chased him down. I had blackmailed him. I had dragged him back here, and it was all for nothing. But, the doctor said, holding up a finger, we ran a search in the National Marrow Registry. It's a long shot, usually takes weeks, but we got a ping. A ping? A preliminary match, the doctor said. A perfect 10 out of 10 match. It's incredibly rare for a stranger to be a perfect match. Who? I asked. Who is it? We don't have a name, the doctor said. Just a donor ID. But the donor is local. They registered at a drive nearby just last month. We've contacted them. They're coming in. I cried. Tears of pure relief. Thank you. Oh God, thank you. The doctor left to prep Lily. I walked down the hall to the room where David was waiting. He was sitting on the exam table looking relieved. I'm not a match, he said, smiling. I don't have to do it. And since I came back, you can't release the emails. Deal is a deal, Clara. He stood up, adjusting his cuffs. I'm going to go. I need to call my lawyer about the Hep C treatment. I'll tell everyone I tried, but the biology just didn't work out. I'm still the good guy. I looked at him. The arrogance, the selfishness. David, I said, there's one thing the doctor said that was interesting. What? He said you were a 3 out of 10 match. He said it was unusual for a father to be that low. David shrugged. Genetics are weird. No, I said, walking closer. Genetics are math. I took a biology class in college, David. Remember? You were busy partying, but I was studying. I pulled a piece of paper from my pocket. It wasn't the medical report. It was the blood type chart I had looked up on my phone in the hallway. I'm O positive, I said. Lily is AB negative. David frowned. So? An O positive mother cannot produce an AB negative child, I said quietly. It's genetically impossible. The A and B alleles have to come from the parents. I have neither. That means... I stopped. The room spun. That means Lily isn't my daughter? David asked, confused. No, you idiot, I whispered. It means she's not yours either. Or, wait. I looked at the chart again. If Lily was AB negative, one parent had to give an A or B, and the other had to give the other. If I was O, I gave nothing. The only way Lily could be AB is if she was adopted or swapped. But I gave birth to her. I remember it. Unless IVF, David whispered. His face went white. We had done IVF 10 years ago at the fertility clinic. They swapped the embryos, I whispered. That's why you aren't a match. That's why I'm not a match. She's not our biological daughter. David stared at me. So, I don't have to pay for her college? That was his first thought. Not shock, not sadness. Money. That was the final straw. Get out, I said. Get out and never come back. David smiled. Gladly. I'm free. He walked out the door. 2 hours later, the perfect match donor arrived. I was sitting by Lily's bed when the nurse brought him in. He was tall, he had kind eyes, and he was wearing a police uniform. It was Officer Miller, the same cop who had donated blood in the ER. Mrs. Evans, he said, taking off his hat. They called me. Said I'm a marrow match too. Guess we're connected, me and this little one. I looked at him. I looked at Lily. And then I saw it. The shape of his nose, the curve of his ears, the exact shade of auburn hair that Lily had, which neither David nor I had. Officer Miller wasn't just a donor. He had visited the same fertility clinic 10 years ago to donate sperm. I knew it. Fate hadn't just brought a donor. It had brought her father. The aftermath. Lily got the transplant. It worked. Officer Miller, Mike, stayed by her side the whole time. We didn't tell him the truth about the biology yet. We just let him be her hero. As for David, he thought he was free. He thought the deal held. But I lied. I didn't send the email to his boss. I sent it to his wife. The other wife. The one I found in his phone while he was getting his blood drawn. He hadn't just been sleeping with Joy in Thailand. He had married her. Bigamy. David is currently serving 5 years for fraud and bigamy, and the hepatitis C. Well, let's just say the prison infirmary isn't quite as comfortable as the private suite he was used to. I divorced him. I kept the house. I kept the car. And I kept the best part of our marriage, the the daughter he never deserved, and the family we built from the ashes of his secrets. Family isn't blood, I learned. Sometimes blood is just a medical fluid. Family is the people who bleed for you,